Welcome back to another evening of Scotch Hour. I'm Noah.
And I'm Jesse. First thing I would like to say about this Bowmore 12yr is, man, this is a handsome box. It really is. You got like the black pinstripe down here, or chalk stripe, and just well done with color. The Bowmore distillery is the oldest licensed distillery on the Isle of Islay in Scotland. So it's going to have some heavy hitter competition here, as Islay is one of our favorite areas of Scotland to have our scotches from. They have been crafting scotch for approximately 240 years, established in 1779. It lies on the southeastern shore of Loch Indal. With that, current owners are Beam Suntory, which are also the owners of some other great brands, some which we love, some which we like. You got Lafroig, Octechon, Bowmore, Glengarach, the Ardmore, some of the other scotches we've had on the show, as well as they've got their hands in some gin, some tequila, some cognac, Cavassier in particular. The Bowmore distillery its capacity is 1.7 million liters a year, and sources as much of its barley from the Isle of Islay as possible. However, with such a small island and so many distilleries on it, Lagavulin being one of them, they are not able to source all of their barley from the island. So they do have to bring some in from the mainland just because there are insufficient sources on the island. The source of their water is the Lager River. And some people say that's part of the reason it has its great taste. It is right there, as it mentioned, on that east shore, where we get those high winds, the cold temperatures, and that water blowing brine into the fields above, where they do source a lot of the materials.
Yeah, so some other tidbits I picked up here was that it is off that coast of Loch Indal, but it's in the town of Bowmore. So the distillery is not only called Bowmore, but it's also in the town of Bowmore. I'm not sure if you said that. I didn't quite catch it if you did. And then they also use traditional methods to make their scotch. So they do what's called floor malting. And this is kind of a more of a traditional style. And when you do go on to the tours, they do have some tours there. You can just do the pure tasting, or you can do the tour itself, or you can do the tasting with the tour. And inside the tours, they'll usually include the you being able to witness or view the floor malting. So that way, this is where the barley is getting prepped in order for it to be used. And then you also get to see the still room as well. With that, the tasting, if you do just the tour, it does cost approximately $22 USD. For the just the tasting. So if you want to bypass the tour and just do the tasting, which you can, that's approximately $73. But if you're going to do both the tour and the tasting, that is about $98 approximately. Also there, they do have something that's called Stay With Us. And they have what's called the Harbor Inn, which you can stay, which has a really nice restaurant there. And then they have the Bowmore Cottages that you can stay right there by the distillery. And I'm not sure if it was actually in the distillery or next to the distillery or attached to it or right by the distillery. But those are some of the options that you do have if you wanted to go there and visit the Bowmore distillery.
Yeah, if you're going to go, you might as well go all out. Don't just go for the tasting. Nothing like seeing them, whether you want to call them wooden paddles or wooden shovels as they're prepping that barley and they're doing some of those traditional methods. Definitely has to be a class act to witness some of this ancient, and I shouldn't say ancient, but old world craftsmanship creating the Bowmore Scotch.
And when you talk about craftsmanship, they do have a partnership with the Aston Martin. So talk about craftsmanship right there, right?
You can't go wrong.
Right. Unless you're racing Formula One.
Yeah. Aston Martin may not have had the best luck there.
Not recently, anyways.
Let's open this up. All right. As we mentioned, we do like a good box. I think this is very traditional to the Suntory bottles that Suntory themselves put out. Man.
The bottle goes in the box.
The bottle goes in the box. It fits well. Look at the head on that bottle. All right. Well, let's go ahead and find this. Open it up. I do like the label, the foil. It's a little less traditional for what we've had on the show as far as the bottle shape, but probably very traditional for them. It's got great detail. That is definitely plastic.
The bottle looks like something more I would expect from like a Kentucky whiskey or bourbon.
It's definitely old world, and they do not waste money on the glue, man. The label is a little loose there. They're like, why? But it's on there. 40% ABV.
I wonder if if the glue right there has something to do with the dry atmosphere here in Colorado, because I do know there are some like wine labels and other kind of like bottling that does have issues with the glue and the labeling, because the air here is so dry and it kind of dries out the glue.
It could be. Again, good looking label. Well done.
I like the color, the color aspect of it. Pretty much white, black, and gold. Who can't go wrong with that?
Literally can't go wrong with that.
As I'm wearing CU gear, white, black, and gold. All right. Cheers and off to Warp Speed.
Warp Speed. Cheers.
Well, there's an old saying says age before beauty. However, when it comes to some of these Islay scotches, I think we might have gone beauty before age, since this is the oldest licensed distillery there on the island of Islay. And it doesn't disappoint whatsoever. When I first looked at the coloring, it is a coloring that I do like. And it has, like I put here in mine, is a medium brass with like that, kind of like that amber hue to it. And it's kind of misleading, because when I look at this, at the color of this, I would have expected some of this color has been leached from the barrels, being from the charred barrels. So I would expect a little bit more caramel, a little bit more of the, you definitely do get some smoke, but, I was expecting more oakiness and more caramel, and I didn't really get that in this. So, when it comes to the aroma, I'm picking up like some like coastal air. So I'm not really sure. I wouldn't really say it's sea brine, but it's definitely like when you're probably maybe like 5-10 miles in on a coastline and you can smell that nice sea air, along with some hints of ash and floral, and then I put hints of orange and bergamot. And it does make for a nice inviting smell or aroma that makes you want to explore the Scotch a little bit more. And so when it comes time to taste it, here on my notes I put it hits with vanilla. I get a lot of vanilla up front, and then after the vanilla starts to dissipate, this is when I start getting some of the a little bit of smokiness and some of the peat, or you can call it smoky peat, probably might be a better term here for me, is a smoky peat that you get from there. And it has a nice sweetness. It's not like an over sweetness and it's not an under sweetness, but it has a nice sweetness tone to it from the beginning of the palate to the end of the palate. Now, as we start entering into the finish, so the back palate going into the finish, I do experience a nice lingering smoky finish with hints of oak and dry grass. Now, this is to me, out of some of the other scotches that we tried, this is a very light-bodied scotch. It doesn't really sit in your mouth real heavily. It doesn't coat it cream. It doesn't give you that nice creamy coat either, as far as my opinion goes. And but it's really nice and light-bodied. So this is something I would definitely enjoy on a nice summer evening. It just gives you that nice, like, bright feeling that you get from summertime. And it's not overly heavy that, because I don't know, during the summertime, I want something that's like a little bit more lighter. I don't want something that's so heavy bodied. So this is a really nice bottle right here, with that light body in there. And the sweetness kind of just makes it really nice and enjoyable for like a summertime scotch. I do highly recommend it. Would I take it to a poker game? Sure. I definitely would. But I take it to an average every day where I'm not trying to impress anybody type of engagement. Yeah, I would do that. I'd take it to like a house party or something like that. Would I take it to a black tie affair or like a nicer type of event? No. And the reason why is that it's not like the packaging is nice. But if I'm taking it to a nice affair, like a black tie affair or an elegant type of party, I don't want to have to worry about my label peeling off.
Man, the Bowmore does not disappoint. It is very interesting, and I think one of the cues you mentioned there was the lighter body, especially for an Islay Scotch. We're talking about comparisons with Scotches like Lafroig or Lagavulin, and with some of those, they are peaty. We're talking about Ardbeg, and the Bowmore is much more I want to say, balanced in the sense of it is not as peaty. Definitely not as smoky. The other thing I would say, for me, this is like a tropical scotch. For me, this is the kind of scotch I would love drinking on a hot day on a sandy beach where I've got an umbrella over me and just sipping the scotch, going in and out of the water. Caesar's Pool would do too. Caesar's, if you want to throw me a pass, please do. Caesar's Pool. But it's one of these scotches where I agree, it's not overbearing in any sense. Now, as we get into it, the color, deep gold, light amber, great color, very inviting. We're talking about a company that produces a little over 2 million bottles of scotch a year with their volume capacity. And on the nose, it's super interesting because for me, right off the bat, I get hints of lemon and peach. And that is immediately followed with honey, mild peat, not like a peat monster, and then a little bit of pineapple. It's really, really interesting. On the palate, right up front, I think you mentioned this also. The front is beautifully sweet with vanilla, peach. It's a little creamy right at the front, but that fades quickly. Then comes in some dark chocolate. And then the repeat of the fruitiness. Again, why I think this is like the tropical scotch for me. Pineapple, mango, peach. Then that peat comes through with a little bit of smoke. And the oak dryness is there, but I agree with you. None of the caramel, none of the actual oak flavor, just very well balanced. It's a fun scotch. And right now, Total Wine is selling it for right about $55 a bottle. Bevy's has it for $65 a bottle. It would not be my first pick either, because even though this is fun and it's well balanced, there are a few other Islay Scotches I do prefer. Would I take it to a poker night? If it's something where I'm trying to invite a new Scotch to a couple of lads, absolutely. Lads or ladies. If it's me bringing it over to friends, it's the same thing. It's very different from Islay. It is not traditionally how I would define, for me, an Islay Scotch. Black tie event, I wouldn't mind bringing it to a black tie event, especially if cigars are going to be at the end, because I'm not afraid of ruining this Scotch with a cigar. I think this flavor with a mild cigar, we're not talking about some huge cigar, a mild cigar would go very well with. For me, though, it did not disappoint. 40% ABV, Islay Scotch here. Well done, Bowmore.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.